and welcome back to Book Talk with Cara. Today, I am so excited that I get to introduce you to my friend, Lisa Bergren, and we are going to talk about one of her series that I will probably go completely fangirl over because it's one of my favorites and one of my daughter's favorites, and I'm getting to introduce my other daughter to it literally right now. But before we do all that, Lisa, do you want to take a moment to introduce yourself and a little bit of how you got started with writing?
Sure. Well, my name's Lisa Bergren, and I live here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I've been married for 33 years and have 3 grown kids and 1 grandchild and 2 puppies. And I love to travel and I write, and I've been writing for 30 years.
That's just incredible. And I love that when you travel, you collect something, because I collect art that we find, like, street artists and things like that. But it took me a while to figure out that's what I wanted to collect. But you collect something different that I think is such a great idea. What is it that when you're traveling around, you're looking for when you go from shop to shop?
And this is wearing thin for my husband because now we have to find it everywhere. But I'm always looking for a ceramic vase. Pottery from the local region, and I've created quite a fun collection.
Well, and what I love about it is, like, even if you're in Italy, every region has its own style of painting that goes on the vases, and you can find things that are just so endemic of the region or the area. And so even if you keep going back, you can keep finding something that's new and special and relevant to where you're from. So do you have a favorite one that you've picked up on your journeys and travels?
I love my Italian vases, but I really love an orange vase I got in Provence in France. And then another really funky, cool one I got in Istanbul.
Oh, yeah, because the painting style that they have there is just incredible.
Ornate and cool. And the shape of it is so unique. So very Eastern, Middle Eastern. Yeah.
That's so cool. I just had a friend bring me one from Uzbekistan. Ooh. And it's all hand painted and everything. But the moment I saw it, I was like, oh, this reminds me of Lisa and her collection. I should have been collecting vases. But now we've got to talk about this amazing series that you have just re-released. It's so fun that you get the opportunity to do that. And you've got this wonderful boxed set. But this is like the best series ever, and I'm so excited that I got to get it for each of my girls in the collection because my oldest, Abigail, she first inhaled this, I think, as they were coming out when she was like 14 and 15, and then we've got to spend a month in Siena, and it's so fun. I have photos of her sitting on the campo with her Kindle, reading the different books and going, this is where that family would live. And this is where that family would live. Because around that campo, like the family of 9 would have their houses. And so she was like, this is where each of those families would be. And then we go to Florence, and she would do kind of the same thing because the books and the characters were so real to her. So she'd read it multiple times on the Kindle. And now she doesn't know it yet, but she's going to get the box set. So this series, and Waterfall is the first one, has been around. It's getting ready for like its 2nd generation of readers. And I love it because you've got this, it's kind of got a little bit of time travel jumping, but it's not sci-fi. I could really latch onto it because I don't do sci-fi. Yeah. But how did you first get the idea for this? Because it's really high concept to me.
Interesting. So how old is Abigail?
She's 24 now. And so I'm just giving them to my 17-year-old. So that's where it's kind of fun.
Well, when my girls were 16 and 13, they were horrifyingly reluctant readers. And as an author and an avid reader, I just couldn't handle it. So I was dead set on figuring out how to hook them into fiction and help them to see what it's like to be obsessed with a story and not able to go to sleep until you read one more chapter. And so I really set out to figure out what was capturing teens at that moment in time. And at that time, it was really Twilight for romance and Hunger Games for the action. And so I really sat down and kind of dissected each of those books and figured out how they, what the arc was like and what happened to the characters. And then I thought, well, I want to write something that combines the adventure of Hunger Games and the romance of Twilight without quite so much blood and gore and no vampires. So Time travel, I've always thought would be fun, but I'm like you. If anybody asks, like, how does this really work? And if they test me on all the specifics, I'd be lost immediately. So I kind of skate through there and just ask the reader to buy into the concept with me. And fortunately, lots of people have been able to do that. So it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, and it really does have that feel. And it's kind of fun that you say you dissected them, because I've done that at different times when I am making a genre switch, or I'm making kind of a jump in when I'm writing, or I'm like, okay, I need to go to another level. I will literally sit down with a spreadsheet and books that I love, an author, I love their pacing, I love their tension, whatever. And I will go chapter by chapter and kind of dissect and go, okay, what's going on? Why does it work? Why is it so page turning? So I love that you did that with Twilight and Hunger Games, because it does kind of have that feel in there, but without the vampires and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you've got these two girls who are they're young women. They're like early
15
20s.
and 17 when they first are introduced.
Okay, I guess, yeah, that's right. They are, because I just got done with the most recent series where they're like the older
yes.
women, the experienced mentors. So, they're teenagers, and they end up kind of getting sucked through a portal.
Yep.
Without the Tony Stark explanation. And then they find themselves, they're in Italy, and then they're in medieval Italy.
Yes.
And we're talking like 1300s medieval Italy.
Yes. Yes. Pre-Renaissance, pre-Reformation.
And so, and they end up, and they're in their modern clothes, and they don't even know where they are or what they're doing. And then the adventure begins.
Yeah.
So when you first imagined this, did you think it would be 1 or 2 books? Did you know it would be a 5-book series? How did that all happen?
Interesting. Yeah. I knew it was going to be 3 books, just because once I started writing, and it's really the easiest series I've ever written, because it just flowed out of me. And I'm sure you've had books like this.
Yeah.
You sit down and it's like the movie's playing in your head and you're just typing, trying to keep up. And by the time I ended with book 3, it was really popular. But my publisher was moving out of fiction. And so I just kept publishing in the series books 4 and 5, and they continued to do well because it just had a solid fan base and people were talking about it and sharing it with their friends. And it's just one of those beautiful God moments where he blessed it and it just took off. So it's been fun to watch.
Yeah. And you really do transport people to Italy. And the book I've written in Italy, Shadowed by Grace, I hadn't traveled to Italy before I wrote it. I've since spent 4 summers in Italy. Now, I guess 4.5, because we went for 2 weeks this summer. But people are always like, man, you must have traveled extensively in Italy because you just really have captured it well. And I was like, not yet. But so had you traveled there first, or did that come after you started the series? How did that all work for you?
I actually had taken a hiatus from writing for 3 years when God just asked me to take have a fallow season. And I didn't touch the keyboard for all those years. And then when I came back, I had an idea for a series called The Gifted. And the first one is Blessed. I'm sorry, the first one's Begotten. And I wanted a biblical mystery, and I knew it should be set in Italy for some reason. So I did all the research for that. And that was pre-Reformation, pre-Renaissance. And so I'd done all my homework, and I'd been there 3 times before I started writing River. But I was like you, when I first wrote Begotten, I was actually in first draft when I went over for the first time. And I was so glad to go there and go, okay, most of it works, but I can fix a few things here and there. Yeah. It's amazing what you can find out on the internet these days.
It really is. And so, with Google Earth and like just TripAdvisor and all the photos that people put up, you can feel like you're there. Right. But then there's nothing like actually being there in the scene and setting. No. So when you think about like writing, and you've written a lot of books, how many books are you at now? Like 150 or something?
It feels like that, right? No, I'm somewhere over 70.
Okay. Yeah. That's incredible. I'm trying to catch up. I'm at 45 right now. I'm working on 46 and 47.
Well, you're probably about the same, because a number of mine are children's books.
Well, yeah, and these 2 are nonfiction for Purdue. So I'm like, this isn't as much fun as fiction. But what's your, when you think about it, because you write all these different genres. You've written a lot of fiction. You've written a little bit of nonfiction, right?
Yep.
And then children's and young adult and, adult fiction, like you've got that Gilded Age series. I mean, you've just been all over the place. What's your biggest challenge as an author?
My biggest challenge is to actually get my butt in the chair because I'm always busy doing other things. I help my husband with his business. I like to travel. I'm involved with my family, my church, my community. And I'm not one of these authors who writes every day. I write nothing for months and then sit down, and then I'm very intentional and intense. So maybe 6 or 7 hours a day I'll write until it's done.
That's incredible. So when I do that, I always feel like there's this startup cost of getting back into the rhythm of writing. Like there's this, because my husband will be like, because like I haven't written fiction now for a couple months because there was edits and things like that. And now I've got to write a proposal, and I'm just like, oh, there's just this startup cost. And then you got to pitch the proposal. And then, at some point you'll actually get to write the books. And I'm just like, there's a rhythm to it that anytime I step away from it, I feel like there's just the best way for me to describe it is a startup cost of getting back into the rhythm of fiction. And so I would much rather write a little bit every day or most days with, periods of walking away than to have like this extensive time away from it. And then I'm like, okay, now I have to get back into the flow.
Right.
Do you find that, or is it for you because you're used to doing that you can just kind of get right back into it?
I understand what you're talking about. I think the biggest cost for me is just a procrastination factor. And I had read once that procrastinators are mostly doing that because they're overwhelmed. And so if you're doing a little bit at a time, it doesn't quite feel so overwhelming. Whereas if you're going, okay, I have to start with 0 words today and get into it again, write a whole book, it can be overwhelming. So I understand that, but it's just, it only takes me about half a day, and then I'm into the rhythm and ready to stay in it. So I often go away for weekends to a hotel or do a little writing retreat or lodge with a friend just to get away from our home business and all the chaos and the puppies and normal responsibilities, so I can just stay immersed, get my coffee, start writing, stop for a break, walk, keep writing, all day long. And that's just what has been working for me.
I love that. Yeah, I'm not quite at that point because I've still got kids at home plus the full-time day job. So then it's like, I think if I could even do that at the beginning of each book, just to get back into it, that would probably really help. So you've written 70 some books. When did you first know that you were like, okay, writing's what I'm at least partly created to do?
Yeah. I think I've always loved to read and write. I don't know about you, but it took me a long time to think of myself as a writer. I think I was probably 8 or 9 books in before I could even say I'm an author. It just sounded presumptuous,
Yeah.
But when I was in college, I did an internship with a publisher and really thought, gosh, this is a really fun business. Maybe this is the direction I should head. And then I started dabbling. In my teen years, I'd read a lot of romance. And so when I started thinking about writing myself, I was reading Writer's Digest every month and kind of just collecting the information and figuring out the craft. And I thought, well, I could start with a romance, because boy meets girl, boy and girl break apart, boy and girl get back together. Just that structure gave me some courage to okay, I'm going to just start writing and see what it comes. And the day I got my first real publishing job, got a job in marketing for Multnomah Publishers up in Sisters, Oregon. They gave me a contract for my very first novel. And so it was just this fun Christmas moment where I get a real job and a real contract on a book in the same day. So ever since, God has just been so faithful about opening doors to me. And I've written so many different things because I'm always curious about different things. And so I love to follow my nose and do what God has put ahead of me next.
I love that. And you're one of the people who has been able to do that, because a lot of times now the advice is stay in your lane, stay in your genre, you can't move around, but you've been able to actually do that really successfully, from the children's books that are just beautiful to lots of different genres in fiction. And so it's been fun to watch that, because it really is. It's like you're just going, okay, God's put this next story in me, and so I'm going to do it. And then because you're doing it that way, there's just this blessing that comes with it. So if you were going to go back and talk to the younger Lisa, what advice would you give her as she's like trying to figure out, am I a writer? Am I not? And I laugh because I can relate to that. I don't know which book it was on the shelf when I went, okay, I need to stop saying this is a hobby.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm doing this all the time. It's not just a hobby, it's paying bills and things.
Yeah. I think I'll back up and say, I think I've been moderately successful. I don't think I've been super successful. Some of my series have really bounced, like really taken hold. But I think it's harmed me by jumping from genre to genre to genre, because audiences love to say, oh, I love Cara's suspense, and I'm looking for her next suspense novel. They're not looking for a sweet, cozy romance from you, probably, I would guess.
Yeah. They would be surprised.
Okay, well, and then you might do that, and some will follow you, but some won't. They'll just find another suspense author. So I would say, if you can, Lisa, try to send her down into at least 3 different genres. That would help. Yeah. And now, as I'm moving forward, I think my sweet spot is, I think what's been great about doing all the different genres is each one has taught me different things about the craft and crafting a story. And so then I can incorporate multi-genre lessons into my current stories, and hopefully appeal to a lot of different people, and then kind of stay in this lane, which is fantasy, light fantasy, I would say. Mm-hmm. High suspense, high romance. That is just what is easy for me to write.
Well, and I like how you frame that, because like if you were to say, oh, I'm fantasy, I'd be like, I'm turned off. Yeah. But yet I love these time travel books you've written, because it's so light on the fantasy, and I can suspend belief because it's time travel, but it's time travel to a place I love to visit and where most people want to travel. And so we can do it through your books. But it's a light enough fantasy that it's not like I have to have a science degree to figure out what's going on. And but it's still set enough in the real world that I can make the jump and I can understand. Like I always say, I couldn't read Lord of the Rings until I saw the movies, because it was too weird. And I know all the Lord of the Rings folks are like, no, the movies didn't do it justice or whatever. But it's like, but I couldn't read it because I didn't understand. I didn't understand the world. But then there's so much action going on in these books, and the characters are so real, and there's always strong romance. So you are really appealing, I think, in particular, to young adult readers who are looking for those Hunger Games style books. But at the same time, people like me are like, oh, we love these. These are great. So it's kind of fun how you've been able to pull all those elements together. And Waterfall is such a great one to start with, because you've set up the world and you really pull people in. But then there's like the whole series. So people who love a series, now they don't have to wait for the next one. It's just there and ready to go, which is great.
Yeah. For people who are ready to binge. I've got
exactly.
Yes, and now we have the spin-off series, Oceans of Time. So there are 8 books that they could
read. And those were good too. Those were fun. So when you think about all this, there's never a straight line in writing. Writing is a complicated field. It's not for the faint of heart. How have you learned to handle setbacks or rejection as you walk through this? Because if you have as many books as you do, I can almost guarantee maybe you're the unicorn who's never had to kind of readjust. But how have you learned to walk that journey?
I remember in the early years that it was tougher. Now I think I'm a fairly pragmatic person and fairly optimistic person. And so when I face rejection now, it's more like, okay, that didn't work. Maybe is that the wrong home for that project? Or is God actually asking me to move to something else? You know, was that just out in left field? Or maybe this isn't the time for it. Maybe it will be the time for it in 3 years. Yeah. So then I just kind of set it aside and move on.
Yeah, and that's such a healthy way to approach it. But it takes a while to get there, I think, for most of us.
I think that I tell people that you develop elephant skin. You know, between reviews and rejection. I mean, I try not to read my reviews. Once in a while, I'll feel brave and do that. But it just is, you just have to go, this is a subjective industry. And so I might love the next Cara novel, but somebody down the lane might really hate it. And same for me. So you just go, I just need to find my readers. And if people aren't my readers, that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons I started Book Talk was like, not everybody's going to love my books, but I can help them find the authors that are going to write the books that they love.
Yeah.
Because you're my friends and I could be like, hey, I love Lisa's books. You might love them too. And they're very different from mine in all the best ways. So this is one question that I always find really interesting too, because I am terrible at this. But do you celebrate when you get done with a book or do you just immediately turn to the next one?
Oh, no. Because I'm done then for like 6 months or until edits come back in. So yeah, we usually go out for dinner is our celebration. And usually Chinese, now that I think of it. We don't eat a lot of Chinese food, but that just always sounds really good to me when I'm finally typing the end.
Yeah. You're like, all right, it's time for Chinese.
What do you do?
Well, I'm so type A that I just tend to go to, okay, what's the next thing? And there have been certain times where I've really, especially as the kids were younger and they had to watch mom sit at the keyboard a lot, that I'd be like, okay, let's go to a movie or and let's get all the snacks. Let's do something like as a family. Yeah. To be like, okay, yay, mom finished. We can go do something fun now. Yes. But yeah, I'm not very good at it. I still am not. So.
And I usually schedule a massage now that I think of it too.
Yes.
So yes, they're small little celebrations.
Yeah, but all that time hunched at the keyboard, you got to get all the muscles relaxed. Yep. So as we wrap up, a few kind of, I think they're fun questions. Do you have like a snack or something that you enjoy when you're writing, like sweet or salty or something like that?
Yeah, I try not to eat this normally, but I love red licorice and I love gummy bears.
I love gummy bears. Do you have a favorite brand of gummy bears?
It's a new one to me. I think it's called Alberto or something. It's in a white package and they're soft.
Oh, they are made right up the street from us.
Are they really?
In Indiana.
They're so good. Yeah. I can't buy them because I eat the whole bag.
But yes, they are good. There's a factory store by the plant.
Danger.
It is dangerous because you can get all the, rejects that still taste quite good. And they're a lot cheaper. Do you drink like tea or coffee or do you have a sparkling water girl? What's your favorite when you're writing?
I'm an iced tea girl and sweet, and I like seltzer waters.
Do you have a favorite flavor of seltzer water?
Spindrifts, mango, orange, I think. It's really good.
All of our time in Italy is what switched us from like drinking soda to sparkling water or frizzante, depending on what
so much better for us.
So much better, but it's also especially when you're overseas, it just tastes good. And then we come over here and we're like, we like all of them. So
yeah, good. What's your favorite flavor?
So I actually like the Target off-brand has a cucumber mint.
Oh, that's
kind of a fun, refreshing flavor, but I really haven't found one I didn't like other than I'm not a fan of LaCroix's limoncello, but I like all of their others. Yeah. But the limoncello just tastes a little off to me for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
That's fair.
Yeah. But Spindrift is very good.
Yes.
The real juice in there.
Yeah, makes a difference.
Yes, it does. So you said that you write like 5 or 6 hours a day when you're writing. Does it energize you or do you come out of it being like, whew, that was a lot of work?
I'm somewhere in between. I think I'm always relieved when I'm done, but I'm also like, yeah, got that done. That's awesome. When you don't write for months and then you're totally in the mode, I usually can produce quite a few words. So that always feels good as an accomplishment for the day.
Yeah, that does. I love those days when normally though, I'm like, oh my gosh, my deadline's coming up and life's been crazy. I've got to buckle down. And then it's like a 5,000, 6,000 word day. Yeah. And you do a couple of those in a row and you're like, oh, I still got it. I can still do this.
There's still stories in me.
Yeah. So where can readers get your books, all of them, Waterfall, plus all the others, and this beautiful box set? Because it really is, the box is incredible.
Yeah, it's been so popular. I just printed 100 more. So I'm doing 100 more of the collector's boxes. And you can only buy those from my website, lisabergren.com. And also my print books are only available from me right now. And so you'd have to order them from me They're a pretty good deal right now till end of July. So if you're going to do it, jump in early. Ebooks and audiobooks are available everywhere.
Yeah, I love that. And they can find you. What's your website?
Lisa Bergren, and Bergren is Bergren. Everybody always wants to say Bergen and forget the other R.
Yeah. And then you're on all the socials. And so, but if you are looking for books, especially for like your YA readers who are struggling to find that series that's going to ignite their passion. But like I said, I have loved these books. And one of my daughters has read them multiple times, and I'm so excited for my 17-year-old to discover them now that we have the print books. So thank you so much for joining me today, Lisa. It's always so fun to connect with you.
It's a pleasure, Cara. Thank you so much for having me on.